Hello, and welcome back to White Noise Noise Level 3 podcast. This is Tiwanaku from South Florida. Hello, Tiwanakans. It's a bit more relaxed this morning. I am not sitting in my car at work. I am comfortably ensconced at home on my ninth floor, overlooking the balcony and my unobstructed view to the horizon facing north, which undoubtedly is the best direction for a view. So I wanted to talk to you today about a movie from Netflix called White Tiger. And it's one of those things that has a bit more negativity than positivity. But at the same time, it really reminded me of my trip to India. So I would do anything to go back there. I mean, it really brought me back. As far as the cinematography, the way that I describe India as soon as I got back from my trip is that it's known for like a low level fog in the morning, just overlooking the landscape. And it's just so magical. And they definitely caught that. If you go out in the morning, there's just this low level fog. Um, that makes it all kind of spiritual. Um, the food, okay. I just made some chai tea. I really did. But, just like from the bag. But it's nothing compared to the chai in India. I really miss the chai tea there. I miss the naan. I miss, oh, shoot. Hello? Hello? Hi, Peppy. Hello? Okay. So, yeah, that was my dad. Maybe he'll call back. I thought maybe I could get him on this podcast. But yeah, I miss the naan. I miss everything. And of course, I'd been to Delhi, so quite a bit of the movie is filmed in Delhi. Now, getting to the movie itself, it is a little dark. So that's kind of just an interesting thing to talk about on its own. So it's a bit kind of revolutionary. Sorry, I have hay fever and my allergies are kicking up, even though I'm medicated. Imagine if I didn't have my medication. um, it's a bit revolutionary in the sense that, for one thing, the movie says a couple of times, definitely in the beginning, definitely in the end, um, maybe somewhere in between, but at least twice. The time of the white is over. Now is the time for the yellow and the brown. So there's definitely some truth there, at least in the United States, where in the at least in the major DMAs, it's now minority majority, where actually the white race is less than non-whites. So there is some truth to that from that standpoint. If you want to go to the Brookings Institute, they've been covering that for what, a decade now. So that is definitely old news. Yeah, I think that they were using that term too, like the whites are old news. I'm pretty sure I remember that because I just um, saw the rest of it yesterday and starting the day before. So that's why I'm doing this podcast, so that it's fresh in my memory. Um, and by the way, I'm streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, and of course my podcast. If you just want to hear it itself, it's White Noise Level 3. My website is whitenoiselevel3.wordpress.com in case you want to leave a comment. But yeah, um, so that is already talking about change. So you're already predisposed. Okay, maybe there's going to be quite a bit of change here in this movie. The protagonist, the main character, definitely goes through a big transformation. I'm going to have a lot of spoiler alerts. So if you want to watch the movie, if you want to pause this and watch the movie, please do so. But just a little bit to try to get to my points. So as a child, the protagonist did show some promise, that even though he came from a poor area, poor family in India, when he was at the communal school, the professor reached out to him and said, you definitely show promise. I'll get you a scholarship, things like that. So he probably had, all 52 cards in his deck, all lights burning brightly on the Christmas tree, not really missing any that have been missed out or faded. So that's pretty good. But, then you meet his family and he's saying you go to the village where there's no running water, there's no electricity. And then stepping forward a little bit more, he suddenly finds himself, through drive and ambition, he targets kind of this elite family that's overseeing his village, and is a driver for the son and his wife. So suddenly that's very cosmopolitan. The son has a wife who is from Brooklyn, New York. So they're driving around in a nice SUV, going around Delhi. And they do showcase Delhi, briefly, but it's New Delhi is a regal city. I mean, huge boulevards, flags, the Red Fort right there in the center. I mean, you really feel like you're in a capital. So they probably could have showcased Delhi a little bit more, but hopefully you get some idea as to the little bit that they were showing about that. Um, and yeah, Connaught Circle, maybe a little bit of that too. So suddenly, which is what's happening right now with society, that itself, society today, where he is seeing, the protagonist is seeing a world that, uh, you know, of privilege. They want for nothing. Um, they have running water, they have electricity, of course. But then the way how they treat each other, and mostly the way how they treat him, um, as far as the lower caste, is is troubling and bothersome, not only to him, but even to the more progressive wife, that came from Brooklyn, like, hey, don't treat people like that. And that is where you get maybe into cultural differences between India and the United States, where India in the United States, I could easily argue that there's still a class system, um, but it's hidden. Um, it's kind of like the gardens in England. The house may not look that great, but then you walk to the end and to the garden in the back, and it's just like this majestic garden. So it's kind of like that. It's hidden here in the United States. Maybe in India, it's a bit more pronounced with generations and generations of your family being a certain caste, and everybody knows it apparently. Like wearing, a scarlet letter or a sticker on your forehead or something. Um, Maybe like the class rings that they have here in the United States. I never got one, but um, maybe I should. No. Um, I'm a firm believer that no matter where you came from, for the most part, you can always better yourself and be of service to others. It doesn't necessarily matter where you went to school, how far you got in school, where you came from. It matters what you're doing now, and especially in a country like the United States, um, the fact that I'm a proud American. I mean, I have been inundated with many, many, many positive opportunities, many chances, to be of service, and um, I love my country and I love living here. I'm just trying to say that there's a ton of opportunity everywhere. You just have to look. Um, and From there, going back to the movie, it's kind of what's happening now with society overall. That I think with Facebook and with social media, people that are less than, and I hate to use that term, are seeing how others live. I mean, not just in movies, but this is the fifth yacht trip that this influencer is going on, this year. I want to go on a yacht trip. So it was kind of like this in your face kind of difference of living and of approaching life. Many, many differences that this protagonist was facing being the driver of this rich family. Well, it takes a second and a half for the protagonist to really want that for himself and justify to himself that he can have it. So he basically brutally murders the son that he was driving around, just in cold blood. Leaves him there on the side of the road. It was horrific. Takes his money, and the only good thing that I've seen of the protagonist is that he had a little nephew that was visiting him at the time, and he was just going to leave him. He just said, I hope my nephew realizes when I don't come back in the morning." I mean, this is a little boy in Delhi. "I hope my nephew realizes when I don't come back in the morning that, um, you know, um, I'm sorry, I just have to get back. Just 1 second. Daisy, get back down." Sorry, I was worried about my cat being out on the balcony, but now everything's closed. Um, that he actually made a U-turn and got the nephew before he fled as a murderer and stealing money and everything like that. So he takes this little boy in tow. Then there's this really chilling scene where he asks the little boy, "Do you miss your parents?" Right after reading in the local newspaper that 17 people, uh, were dead in his village. And um, the little boy didn't even think about it. He didn't talk about his parents. He just said, that's my cat, by the way. He just said, uh, I want some more ice cream. And then the protagonist said, okay, good boy. So imagine with the protagonist as kind of your pseudo father, your pseudo parents, and I think he's so selfish, and that the little boy is also going to be as selfish, if not more, with those types of values, or not having the correct societal values. So yeah, so just like social media is giving us a window as to how others live, the same thing was happening here. Um, and then he just felt entitled to take it. That money isn't his. The life that he took was obviously wrong in order to get the money, but there he is. And another interesting point, some scenes were that he's still kind of alone with his wealth. So he becomes successful. He starts his own business, but he's still like in bars, sitting by himself because maybe it's just the type of person that he is. With that kind. I don't know if he's a sociopath or a psychopath. Maybe he's unable to have a good circle of friends and support group and family. He's just making it on his own. So. But I thought the movie was really strong. I mean, it isn't one of those, like when you go to a spa and you have the Swedish massage, and it's nice and soft. This is more of the deep tissue massage. It's it just gives you a lot to think about, a lot of very powerful scenes, a lot of messaging that can be applied to society overall. So I personally enjoy the, getting your own hands dirty and creating things on your own. In fact, I had plenty of opportunities to date kind of like trust fund babies or people that were, I guess, that are, working for their family business and everything is just kind of handed to them. I'm not saying that their work is not work. I mean, I'm sure they're working. It just wasn't really that interesting to me to have your life kind of paved that way. I like people uh, that create things, on their own and get their hands dirty, as opposed to obviously stealing or the murder steal like we see in this movie. But yeah, just to wrap up, I mean, I really, really miss India. Delhi looked great, especially the night scenes, and the really nice buildings and restaurants and nightclubs. It's majestic. I hope I can go back there sometime soon. So I really recommend White Tiger. I thought it was great. I wasn't really prepared for so much to really think about. You think about maybe one scene, then you think about another scene, How does it apply here from India to the United States? I think there are some global messages. Um, I think definitely with the rise of social media, it's causing social unrest. And unfortunately, for certain people, it's like, oh no, well, I do want that money. I want your money. I don't want to work for it. And I'll do whatever it takes to get it. Um, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But we will be covering all of that here on White Noise Level 3. So thank you so much for listening. I was interrupted by my Siamese cat and my family calling, but you guys are troopers. I have a loyal base that keeps on growing. Obviously, quite a few listeners from India. It's definitely India and Canada. So shout out to you guys, eh? could not be more different, India and Canada. So somehow I have these universal messages that are transcending zip codes, which I love. So I'm gonna let you guys go, but I miss you, and I will be talking to you soon. Have a good Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. Take care.